Hi, I'm Dr. Megan Monday, and today I'm going to be talking with you about relationships. I just had a really powerful women's group earlier today, and some of the topics that came up were how to have balance in relationships. And so I think a lot of times relationships are just complicated. It's just a fact. When one and two marriages end in divorce, I think that kind of speaks to the fact that relationships get really complicated. And I think one of the aspects that makes relationships so complicated is sometimes the closer we are to people, the harder it is to say things to them. So one of my favorite quotes by Brene Brown, who, if you don't know her, go look her up because she's an awesome social worker, is to choose discomfort over resentment. So if you are a woman, if you have any history of people pleasing, a lot of times we put others' needs in front of our own. And so if someone's in our space, for example, and we need to say, I'm not comfortable with that, no thank you, back off, a lot of times it'll happen up here. We'll think the thought, but then we silence ourselves. And so what that can create is a lot of exposure to triggers or things that you're uncomfortable with, but it can also really block your kind of throat chakra. And so what happens is all the things left unsaid, all the unfinished business and therapy speak kind of just coagulates. And what we end up with is a lot of resentment. So resentment is all about unexpressed anger. So if we feel, let me back up a minute. Anger is really important. And if you're nice, if you're pathologically nice, you may feel like anger is intolerant to you. But anger is one of the most important emotions because it lets us know when our boundaries are violated. So if we don't let ourselves feel angry, then we won't be assertive in being able to tell someone yes or no. So back to the resentment piece. If, for example, someone has doing something you're not okay with, if you have the thought to say no, but then you don't actually speak it out because you're caretaking that other person, or because you feel like they won't like you, or you just freeze and you kind of can't get the words out of your mouth, then it's going to create a lot of relationship distress, triggers. It can lead to even like harassment or violence, kind of in the worst case scenario. And so unexpressed anger can be really toxic to the system. It's a really heavy, really destructive energy. In some circles, they say it's kind of associated with a trigger, or what would it be called? Like a risk factor for cancer. And so a lot of times when we have like buried these emotions deep inside, and they're the kind of negative storylines, they're the feelings of heaviness, of burden, those are really toxic for the system. And so it may be uncomfortable to set a boundary with someone, to tell someone, no, I can't, this really hurts my feelings, I'm not comfortable with that, but it's important work to do. And so there's a meme that I love that says, if you say yes to everything, and I'm a yes person, so I'm all about saying yes, but no is just important as yes. You got to be able to do both. So if you say yes to everything, you create a war on the inside. And so that's kind of the vibe of resentment. If you know what you need to feel safe and to take care of yourself, but you can't express that, then, change isn't going to happen. Your boundaries aren't going to be respected. And inside, it's just going to be this kind of like seething, intense energy. So the way that we work this out in group is I had two people get together and do kind of a push-pull exercise. So they went palm to palm, and one person would push until the person said stop. And then they would be pushed upon until they were uncomfortable and they said stop. And what was really interesting is in the beginning, people let someone go into their space a lot. And then the more that they said stop and got comfortable with saying stop, the more actually their physical bubble widened. But the more they would not let someone push on them like this. So it was really kind of fabulous because by the end of it, it was really balanced. People could say no, and they were equally giving and receiving. And so that was just a really powerful dynamic to witness. And also, it was powerful for the women to practice saying stop or no. It was powerful to, just have that connection of hand to hand. So I think it's really important when you think about anger, you think about boundary in relationships, what we're really talking about is unmet needs. So you could just ask yourself, like, what do I need to feel better? What do I feel like I need from my workplace, from my partner, from my day-to-day life, from my self-care? What are my unmet needs? What's getting neglected? And out of that neglect is where we get the sadness, the anger, the fear. And so those are all symptoms that we need to be taking better care of ourselves, or that we need to set some healthy boundaries with the people in our lives. So I want to encourage you to think about what you say yes to and what you say no to, because ultimately that is what our life, that's the shape of our life, right? What we say yes to is what we see more of. What we say no to is what we release from our lives. And I think we're at a really powerful point in our lives where we're being asked to either commit fully to what's in front of us, if it's working, or to jump ship and create something new. So I think a lot of cycles are kind of culminating and ending at this particular point. And so I think it's a really great time to do kind of a mindful inventory of what's going on, particularly in relationships, but also any area of your life, and see what are the ways that I can commit fuller. Well, maybe I could be more present, or maybe I could carve out time to do self-care, or maybe I could stop doubting my decisions and just go all in. Or what are the things I need to release? So what are negative habits, destructive patterns? And this is a real phenomenon. This came up in group earlier too. Our patterns just follow us until we do something about them. And sometimes we feel like we've learned this lesson over and over and over again, and they continue to follow us. But it's almost like the universe is like, hey, is this still active? Are you sure? Are you going to pass this kind of final test? And the brain works the same way. I often tell people when they have intrusive thoughts or suicidal thoughts, like the brain goes, hey, do we still need this? Like, are we still going to do this pattern? Are we still going to have this thought? Is this still true to you? That's what a lot of like fear and anxiety and negative thoughts is about. And so you can choose whether you want to say yes to it or whether you want to say no to it. So I hope this has been helpful for you. If you like this, feel free to book a session with me or check me out on rightonbrain.com. Thanks and have a good day.